Self-Petition USA provides technology-based drafting solutions. We are not a law firm and do not employ attorneys. For legal advice, always consult a licensed immigration attorney.
So you're tackling the EB-2 National Interest Waiver. You probably already know there's one hurdle that stands taller than all the rest. Proving your work has national importance. Well, we're going to dive in and crack this code, because getting this one part right, that is the absolute key to your success. Does this question keep you up at night? You are definitely not alone. So many brilliant professionals, people with incredible projects, they get stuck right here. They're trying to translate their amazing, specialized work into a language that USCIS understands and, more importantly, accepts as nationally important. And look, this isn't just some minor hiccup we're talking about. Failing to clearly prove national importance is the #1 reason, the absolute top reason petitions get delayed with a request for evidence, or even worse, denied. So let's be clear, mastering this argument is non-negotiable. Okay, so what's the trap? Why do so many really strong petitions get stuck on this exact point? Well, it usually boils down to 2 surprisingly common mistakes. Let's break them down. So the first mistake is just talking about how important your entire industry is. Saying something like, renewable energy is vital for the US. The second big mistake is making these broad, fuzzy claims about your impact without ever connecting them back to your specific actions. Honestly, both of these are petition killers. This right here, this quote reveals the entire mindset of the immigration officer reading your case. Think about it. They already know your field is important. That's what the whole standard labor certification process is for. But for a waiver of that process, they need to know what makes you, specifically, indispensable to the nation. It's all about you. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you actually shift from talking about your industry in general to talking about your direct personal impact? The best way to understand this is to just see it in action. So let's look at a real-world example. Imagine a petitioner who's developing software for electric vehicle charging systems to prevent grid overload. We're going to look at 2 flawed arguments they could make, and then the one that actually gets the green light. Okay, here's the first failed attempt. The petitioner basically claims their work is going to save the country the entire cost of upgrading the power grid. Now, to an adjudicator, that just sounds, well, unrealistic. No single person is going to transform an entire industry overnight. And making a huge claim like this can seriously damage your credibility. All right, the second flawed argument. This one does a great job of describing the problem. Yeah, we get it. EVs are straining the power grid. But it just stops there. It talks all about how important the field is, but it completely fails to connect the dots back to the petitioner's own work. It answers the question, what's the problem? But it never answers, how will you specifically solve it? Okay, enough about what not to do. Let's get to the good part. Let's build the winning argument, the one that actually gets that green light. The secret sauce, really, is shifting the focus from the general problem to your specific, measurable contributions. It's all about showing a clear cause and effect relationship between your actions and a positive national outcome. Let's see how our petitioner used some hard data to make an undeniable case. First, you have to set the stage with the sheer scale of the national problem. Upgrading the entire U.S. grid to handle all the new EVs could cost a staggering $150 billion. That number right there establishes a clear, high-stakes national interest. Now, here's where you connect your work to that big, scary number. If that $150 billion is spread across, say, 50 million EVs, that's an infrastructure cost of about $3,000 per vehicle. All of a sudden, any technology that helps avoid that cost has a clear, quantifiable national benefit. See how that works? So let's just recap why this approach is so powerful. First, it zeroes in on the petitioner's specific software solution. From there, it shows real, quantified savings for cities and for individual people, proving the impact goes way beyond just their own company. It also connects the technology to broader goals, like grid stability and consumer safety, but ultimately it draws a straight, undeniable line from their personal work to a clear national benefit. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? How do you take this winning strategy and apply it to your own petition? Here it is. This is your checklist for success. You need to frame everything around your actions and the specific results they're going to create. Use numbers when you can to show that measurable impact. And please, forget the broad statements about your industry and focus entirely on what makes your contribution unique and indispensable. So, as you prepare your case, I want you to ask yourself this one simple but really powerful question. Is the story you're telling about how important your field is in general, or is it the story of how your specific work is going to make a tangible, positive impact on the United States? The answer to that question, well, that could be the difference between a denial and an approval.